Plymouth certainly making headlines over the weekend, and for all the wrong reasons as well. Merce, what a terrible start for Plymouth under the new boss, Wayne Rooney. Of course, lots of headlines when he got the job. 4-0 defeat to Sheffield Wednesday. Look, I know it's one game, but will alarm bells be ringing already?
Well, the next game's a big one at home. It's a big one. It weren't the greatest of starts, if I'm being honest. Sunday, Sheffield Wednesday away. Sheffield Wednesday, the way they finished the season. But it was the way they played. The way they played. The way Wayne talked afterwards and said they didn't really listen. That weren't the plan. That's the worry. That's the worry. But that's what Wayne's up against. You know, he's played at that level. He's played, and Tim will tell you, and Clint, he's played up here. You tell them players once. You know, down here, the other leagues, you've got to keep on telling players. And it's hard when you've been as great as what he's been, and he's got to keep on telling these players constantly what they got to do. That takes some getting used to. I think you have to be patient. And I think weekend games are a massive football match. I really do. I think already it's a big football match because it's how the fans are going to take to him. It's how the fans, and I think he's got to get a positive result this weekend, not just for the fans, but for himself as well. Because it wasn't great the weekend, wasn't great. But he'll have to understand at the same time, these 11 or 15 or 16 players are not Wayne Rooney. And he'll have to work hard with them. And I'm sure he will. I hope he succeeds. You know, he was a top player. It doesn't mean you make a top manager. But it ain't through the lack of trying. I give him his due. He takes jobs. And I like that about Wayne.
Sheffield Wednesday had 31 shots, 64 touches in the Plymouth box. The XG, if you go along with XG, was nearly 5. That's the highest for any team in the Championship in the last 2 years. Tim, if you had a few minutes sat down with Wayne, at the moment, he's still fairly early in his managerial experience. He had a tough time at Birmingham, very short-lived. What would you say to him?
I think he's fully aware that he needs to be calm. You obviously, as a player, when you look, if you're having a bad result, you would look to the top really for some calmness, and he's the man sitting at the top. These boys all remember him as a world-class player, and now they've got to respect him as a coach and as a manager. Like Mercy's absolutely right, that none of them are going to be Wayne Rooney, and we know that. They wouldn't be at Plymouth if they was. But what he needs to realise is that he needs to get the best out of what they actually have, and if it means tweaking the style and the system somewhat. It looked like, when they first started the game, I thought they was OK in possession, but out of possession, there was no plan really. Or there was a plan, but they haven't listened to him, like Wayne said after the game. You need to go and get the ball back, and you need to show the ugly side of the game, you know, and sometimes it's something what Wayne did as a player, but he had that little sprinkling of stardust as well. He might not get that, but workmanlike, and I'll go back to it. We talked about Preston. What are Plymouth? Plymouth know what they are, possibly, and that is to stay in the division. It's a success. He's still capable of doing that. Cannot get carried away just because you got beat heavily on the first game of the season. Needs to keep the calmness with his... he's got Simon Island there, who's a coach who's been around the block a little bit. He needs to sit down, trust his coaching staff, and then he needs to trust his players, and maybe a little bit light-heartedness with the boys. You know, dust himself off, get a positive result. Once you get that one result, the confidence starts flooding, and you get a bit of momentum, and you get enough games. They're going to lose football matches. You know, if it's the end of the world every time you lose a football match, then it's going to be the end of the world quite a lot at Plymouth, because they're going to lose games. They need to realise they're going to lose games.
The way you lose, though, isn't it, Tim?
Yeah, but it's the first game. But what can you do, Merce? You can't crawl into a ball and surrender. Yeah. You need to dust yourself down and get on to the next one as soon as possible.
But also, Merce, and Clinton, it's the fact that it's Wayne Rooney, isn't it? Because we wouldn't be sat here on Soccer Special the first game.
When he got the job at Birmingham, all of a sudden we start talking about Birmingham every week. It's because it's Wayne Rooney, and Tim and Mercer have alluded to it. He's a special footballer. He's one of the best footballers there was. When I was watching him, he's fantastic, the things he could do, and playing against him on the football pitch, he's brilliant. The only thing I worry about is the other clubs he's gone into, he hasn't had a pre-season. He's had a pre-season with these players, and as he came out after and said, you know, they didn't listen to what I wanted to do, I'm starting to think now, and obviously Tim's been a manager and Mercer's been a manager, what are these players? Are you not listening? Because if I've got a player like Wayne Rooney coming through the building, telling me what to do and wanting to prove me as a footballer, I'm going to run through brick walls for him. So at the end of the day, I don't know how these players are not getting it. He shouldn't be, no disrespect, I think Sheffield Wednesday will be brilliant this year. I think Danny Rowe's done a good job there, good signings, but you shouldn't be losing 4-0. Sheffield Wednesday were near the bottom of the table near Plymouth last year, but as I said, Sheffield Wednesday have done well, and credit to Danny Rowe, but he needs to go again, Wayne Rooney and them trooper players on the weekend.
Yes, well, they start with a game in the Cup against Cheltenham tomorrow, trying to right a few wrongs then. And then, as you said, it's that already really important game. First home game for Rooney in the league, Hull, on Saturday in the Championship.